Hi, my name is Siti Nur Fatiha, and today I'm presenting the oral critique presentation for the article review entitled The Attitude of Japanese University Students Towards Different English Varieties by Robert M. Mackenzie. First, let's see the main point that we can extract from the study. The first main point is recognizing English varieties does influence the attitudes of Japanese university students. And secondly is familiarity with a certain variety impacts the positive attitudes. And next is social attractiveness based on native versus non-native accent. And lastly is the impact of misrecognizing an English variety. Now, let's see the author's argument in the study. The first argument is the assumption of accurate variety recognition in language studies is flawed and needs correction. And secondly, familiarity with the certain varieties impacts the positive attitudes. And lastly is non-native speakers' attitudes towards certain varieties are subtle, especially in terms of status and social attractiveness. Next, let's see the findings of the study. If it's a research, of course we have a finding. Next is the findings of the studies. If it's a research, of course, we must have the findings. So the first findings is the native varieties, UK and English varieties, received high status ratings from the Japanese students, meaning that the students see these two English varieties as the most prestigious one. And the next one is Japanese accented English was rated lowest in status but highest in social attractiveness, meaning that they see Japanese accent English as low status, but for them it's very attractive. And the next one is accurate recognition of native varieties correlates with a higher status ratings, meaning that if they can recognize the English varieties, either UK or English varieties, they tend to rate them higher in status ranking. And lastly is non-native varieties can evoke positive social perception, especially when heavily accented speakers are seen as socially attractive. Now let's jump into the fun part of our review, which is the critique. So firstly, I'm going to talk about the strengths and the weaknesses of the study. We're going to start with strength first. So firstly, research design is easy to navigate. This is because the author used headings for every new section of the study, so it's easier for the reader to navigate which one is the introduction, which one is the methodology, and which one is the results. So it can be time saving for the readers. And secondly is using mixed methods, which are ANOVA and MANOVA. So ANOVA and MANOVA is a analysis method to present results of a discussion so that it's easier for the readers to understand and to compare different variables used in the study. And lastly is a detailed and thorough nature of the articles. This is because the articles are very detailed with the explanation as well as the opinions from the author itself and support from different researchers. And next is the weaknesses. There are a few weaknesses I can find in the study, but it's actually hard to find a weakness because this study is done by an experienced professor. But three weaknesses I can find are short-term perception assessment. I said this because the sample used in the study just a short samples of certain varieties. So I think that that samples are just too short to actually analyze the Japanese students' perceptions towards the variety. Maybe the samples can be longer so that they can actually analyze the samples thoroughly. And secondly is the participants of the studies are mostly females, and I think this is a weakness because females tend to favor native varieties compared to men. So if there are maybe equal numbers of female and male respondents in the study, maybe the findings would be different. Lastly, this study focuses only on respondents with prior English knowledge because the respondents in this study either have learn English in school or in university, or have immersed themselves in English-speaking environment. So I think if the study also include respondents without English knowledge, so this way we can see how genuine their perceptions towards the varieties is. The second part of the critique is the crack test. So let's start with C, which is clarity. So this article shows a strong clarity through a well-organized academic structure. This way, readers can quickly locate a particular information or revisit section of interest without having to read through the entire text. Just like what I said earlier, if the readers want to see the methodology, so they just scroll up to the methodology section, and if they want to see the results, they can just scroll into the results section. So it's easier and time-saving for the readers. And this study clearly states its aim and research questions, so readers can understand what the research intend to accomplish. So it's not like the readers are left hanging with what actually is the aim of the study. So it's not. And the results presented in the study are clear with appropriate use of tables, figures, and description, which is easy for the readers to interpret. And the next one is R, which is relevance. And I think this study is highly relevant who wants to know about language attitudes and accent perception towards a certain varieties of English. And even though this study was published in 2008, but I think the core strength, research question and conclusion still relevant until now. This study explores how Japanese learners of English recognize and evaluate different varieties of English speech, which is an area that is less examined compared to native speakers' perceptions. This study focuses to provide valuable insights into a non-native attitudes and cognitive process that relates to language varieties. Next is A, which is authority. Authority of Robert M. Mackenzie is undeniable. He is an associate professor at Northumbria University in UK. He himself has a PhD in social linguistics, and the sources used in the study are from a credible peer-reviewed academic journals and books. So he's not just writing his opinion, but also citing and reference and refer to past researchers that already been peer-reviewed and printed books. So with years of experience, his authority is undeniable and is credible. The next one is accuracy. So the claims are well supported by a valid evidence and references. And also this study also includes his personal opinion, which is his personal opinions is I think is already enough, as he himself is a professor in social linguistic studies. So his opinion are already valid, but he still uses other research to support his argument to make it even stronger. And lastly is the purpose. A study investigates how Japanese learners of English recognize and evaluate different varieties of English speech, which is relevant to the purpose of the study stated earlier in his research. The last part of our review is the conclusion part. So to conclude, this study provides valuable insights into the recognition and evaluation varieties of English speech among Japanese learners. So this study highlights learners can differentiate between inner circles and outer circles varieties, meaning because the majority of the respondents can identify which speaker samples is from the inner circle and which one is from the outer circles varieties correctly. And this study emphasizes the importance of understanding how perceptions of linguistic varieties are constructed and how they influence attitudes towards speakers of different varieties of English. Hence, I think this study is useful and relevant to whoever that wants to delve deeper and know more about language attitudes towards varieties of English and what are the factors that influence these attitudes.